Hi, my name is Carol Gilligan. I'm an American psychologist, and I'm most known for my research in the moral development of women. I was born in November 28th of 1936 in New York, and in my later years, I attended school at Swarthmore College, and I obtained my bachelor's degree in English literature. From there, I went to Harvard and began my master's degree in clinical psychology. And then while at Harvard, I joined the Graduate School of Education as an assistant professor in 1979. And then I became a full professor in 1986. And in 2002, I became the University Professor of Humanities and Applied Psychology at New York University. While I was teaching at Harvard, I worked alongside Erik Erikson and Lawrence Kohlberg. And as you may know, Lawrence Kohlberg had a theory of moral development, and I noticed that his theory was mainly focused on men, and that his theory was then applied to all people in general. And so his theory of moral development basically states that children develop through stages of moral reasoning and justice, and the rights of the individual are what directs a person's life. And so he found that more men reached the final stage of his moral development than women did, and that men tend to be heavily focused on justice. And so he has 3 different stages, and in each stage it represents a higher level of moral reasoning, and people should be trying to achieve the highest level, which I agree with. However, his moral development theory primarily focused on men. So I decided to take his research and change it to where it can also focus on women, because I think his research is a little biased because it only focused on men. So women tend to think differently from men, and this is due to social influences, gender conditioning, and the emphasis that women's ways of thinking are undervalued compared to men's. But women tend to be more caring and rely more on compassion and emotion rather than rules and justice. So it's easy to see why I believe that Kohlberg's theory does not apply to everyone. The female approach to morality shows that people have responsibilities towards one another, which makes morality a responsibility orientation. When faced with a dilemma that involves morality, men tend to look for justice and rules and a reasoning behind something, while women tend to search for solutions that will help someone and do good or just do the right thing. So studies have been done to test my theory, and in one study there were 36 people, male and female, that were given a set of questions and dilemmas, and then their responses were either recorded as a justice response or a care response. And the results showed that the majority of women responded with a care response, while most men answered with a justice response. There were a few outliers that answered the opposite way, but overall, women will most of the time gravitate towards the care response. Also, in another short study that I conducted, I questioned a girl named Amy and a boy named Jake. They were both age 11. And I found that Jake was more interested in logic and justice, and he tried to solve the dilemma by working out a solution, kind of like you would do a math problem. Amy, however, she reflected more of the morality of care, and she tried to come up with a theory. Well, not a theory. She tried to come up with a solution that would be good and helpful and not try to bend any rules. And so the surveys that were conducted proved that women and men tend to think differently when it comes to morality, and therefore Kohlberg's stages can't accurately describe where both men and women land within the 3 stages. So from there, I created my own 3 stages. I altered Kohlberg's sum to include women and caring more. And so my 3 stages are the pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional stage. So in the pre-conventional stage, there's a strong focus on survival and self-interest, and it begins to move to the second level when the person recognizes the needs of others. And in the second stage, the conventional stage, the person will prioritize selflessness and caring for others. So in this stage, one's needs become less important, and the main focus is caring for others. And so the transition to the third stage starts when one realizes that they cannot forget themselves, but they also must have to continue to care for others. And then in the last stage, the post-conventional stage, women take responsibility for the consequences of their choices and gain control of their lives. And so I published my findings and my research in my book called In a Different Voice, Psychological Theory and Women's Development. So I just believe that my theory is helpful because unlike Kohlberg's, it includes women and it's not biased and it's not subject just for men. It can be applied to everyone. And it can be helpful in our classrooms because we as teachers need to understand why and how our students develop. By looking at this theory, we can understand and see why our students, especially our female students, act and behave in a certain way and why they respond to things differently. And so this theory is all about moral development, and as teachers, you can teach moral development in a classroom by teaching positive behavior and mindsets. And you can be compassionate and caring and show your students to care for their fellow classmates. And you can also show how to be moral with following the rules and helping others. And if teachers understand these stages of moral development, they can guide their students' moral development by example of proper code and conduct and showing good behavior. Thank you.